Hello and welcome to GameSack. We are talking about sports video games this time.
This might be our only episode of sports video games.
Wait, I don't think anyone's watching. I don't think we really have to.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, this is for the true diehard sports fans out there, and all three of you
who are still watching. Yeah,
right.
But those who are, we hope you enjoy this episode. We still put a lot of work into it.
Yes,
and
it's hard playing these sports games. Really hard
for me, anyway. But I'm going first because that's the way it is.
You can have it.
And let's get going. For some reason, when I was younger, I really liked baseball video games like Reggie Jackson Baseball for the Sega Master System here. I think it was because they were fairly easy to control and they had lots of voice.
Strikeout!
And I loved voices in video games.
Out!
Hell, I'd bean the batters just to hear the voice.
Hit by a pitch!
I mean, come on, that's like an entire sentence. That's amazing! Reggie Jackson was pretty fun, but damn are the fielders slow as hell. I really like the behind the batter view. It's perfect for both hitting and pitching. Really, only crappy games would have a different view. The graphics are decent and there's lots of different music themes, but you'll notice that the players are all pretty chubby. And some games have a very strangely colored field. I've never seen a baseball field look quite like that, have you?
Ball! Base on ball!
Tommy Lasorda Baseball was the upgrade of the same game for the Genesis, only now it had Tommy's lovely face in the title screen. Well, that's enough to ruin an appetite. The gameplay is pretty much exactly the same as Reggie Jackson, only the graphics are better and there's a lot more voice. Now it announces the closest player to a hit ball.
Center fielder!
And they have real crowd noise as well. And yes, I still bean the batter from time to time.
Hit by a pitch!
What I think I like most about this game is that the music is hilarious. I wonder if Tommy Lasorda did the music himself. I bet he did.
Right fielder!
You'd think I'd love the hell out of sports talk baseball with all of the voices in it, but I don't know. It's weird and it kind of sounds like Speak and Spell. You remember Speak and Spell?
He has it, close to second, on to first for two, double play.
I think I'd like the voices a lot more if the quality were better. It's not a horrible game though, and it plays pretty fast.
Next up, number 8. Here it comes. Swing and a ground ball to second, close to first. Got him!
Perhaps one of the most fun baseball games that I've ever played is Baseball Stars Professional for the Neo Geo. This was a launch game for the system and it has tons and tons of awesome voices.
It's a well-hit ball that should be in there for a single.
I was in heaven, or at least I would have been if I would have been able to own the system at the time, but instead I played it at the arcades or rented the home version. The graphics are more cartoony and the game doesn't take itself seriously at all, and I like that. The action is very fast-paced and fun, and even the music is pretty good. The controls are mostly the same as Reggie Jackson and Tommy Lasorda and even Sports Talk, so no problems there. I know about Baseball Stars too, but this one just has a lot of nostalgic value for me.
Ouch! Take your base. Watch out. Hit batter.
It wasn't too long after this before baseball games started taking themselves way too seriously, and it was a big chore just to even hit the ball. Screw those games. These ones I talked about here are the best baseball games ever.
And as he rounds the bases, he loves to egg that crowd on. And proud he should be. He hit that ball a country mile.
Yeah, I don't think that's a he.
Here's Hole-in-One Golf for the Super Nintendo by Hal. I really liked this game the first time I played it, and I think it was the top-down view of the game that really got my attention. The detail of the graphics were a huge leap over what you would find in the 8-bit era. I mean, just look at those realistic pine trees, would ya? I can smell them. The game only offers one course to play on, so if you play for a while, you'll get to know the layout of each hole and the best club for each shot. Amazingly, the game takes a really long time for it to get stale. I could play it for hours before boredom sets in. I also like that it's super easy to set up your shots and just go. The usual modes are represented here with stroke and match play and of course tournament play. Before playing around, you can pick and choose which clubs you want in your bag. As I mentioned before, the graphics are pretty good. I always like the close-ups of the cup when your ball gets near. Putting can be difficult because the greens are really hard to read. There's no arrows, and if you want to see the slope of the green, you have to pull up a different screen. It's usually more trouble than it's worth. There's some music here, and it's enjoyable for the most part. Hole-in-One Golf is easily my most favorite golf game for the Super Nintendo.
Decathlete for the Saturn is Sega's track and field entry. As the name implies, you compete in 10 different events which comprise the decathlon. All 7 countries from around the world are represented. I usually choose Carl from Germany because, well, he's just goofy. Anyway, the control is pretty basic and each event is explained beforehand, but you can skip it or turn it off entirely if you want. The game basically amounts to button mashing and timed presses. It's really fun competing in the different events and trying to beat my old records which are saved on the Saturn memory cartridge. Hell yeah, I just beat the high jump record I set back in 1996. I haven't played this in a long time and some of these events are tougher than I remember. I don't really care for the track events too much as you need to keep an eye on your stamina while you're running and I kinda suck at that. I just want to mash the buttons the entire way. And damn do I hate these hurdles, they're really hard to time. The graphics are high res and the game runs at 60 frames per second, but there's some clipping here and there. The game ends with a 1,500 meter race that evokes all of the drama and emotion of Chariots of Fire. Can you overcome your personal struggles and win the race? Well, I can, I don't know about you. This is a fantastic game to play with friends. Seriously, it is. I used to have friends, I'm talking from experience here. Winter Heat is the winter sport version of Decathlete, except now you're not doing a decathlon. And now there's 8 countries in the world. The newly founded countries are Great Britain and Norway, while Jamaica was destroyed, I guess. So anyway, there's 11 winter games on one Extreme CD. Can you believe that? CDs are truly massive. Like Decathlete, it's been a while since I've played, so I'm a little rusty. So now you're doing a lot of skiing and skating, and it plays by the same rules that Decathlete did, and it's almost every bit as fun. I say almost because I like the events in Decathlete more, but everyone likes the summer games better than the winter games, right? No? Okay. You also don't get as many tries at a single event here, mainly because the events are pretty long. I don't really care for the slalom, they're like the 110-meter hurdles of this game, really hard to time. Like Decathlete, the game ends with a super long race. This time it's cross-country skiing where you need to ski across the entire country. Also, like Decathlete, this end race is the only event where music plays in order to swell your emotions at all of the struggles your athlete has gone through to get here. Overall, the graphics are good, but lower resolution than Decathlete, but that's because there's so much more on screen. The characters all have new voice actors, and I don't like them as much. They're definitely not as goofy.
Better than nothing.
It's still a great game to play, especially with friends, and my stupid friends still hold all of the damn records in my game. And I can't beat them. Damn them to hell.
I don't believe it.
And then there's Virtua Athlete 2000 for the Dreamcast. This is just like Decathlete, only a lot worse. You'd think it'd be way better, but no. The controls are exactly the same as Decathlete, so there is still some fun to be had, but they got rid of pretty much any personality in this game. Even the music is boring. The graphics look a bit nicer, but really that's about the only thing I think is improved. That stupid stamina meter for the races is still here. What's even worse is that this game only has 7 events compared to the 10 of Decathlete. Seriously, what the hell? This game could have been so awesome. But hey, at least my character's a sexy stud.
Here's Super Tennis for the Super Nintendo. Nah, not that crappy one on the Master System that Sega decided to take Nintendo's naming conventions before Nintendo started using Super in front of all their games. How dare they? Seriously, I don't care if Sega did it first, they deserve to be sued by Nintendo. I don't believe in the statute of limitations on this one, man. Get this crappy game off the screen, Joe, now! Anyway, I don't like only but a couple of tennis games, and this is my favorite of the few. It's just a fun game to play as it's very easy to pick up. The controls are so good that you'll be volleying with the best of your opponents in no time. There are many types of shots that you can use to your advantage, like lobs, flat shots, slices, you name it. You can choose from a couple of different modes here. 1-player, 2-player, doubles, and circuit, which is the tournament. You choose from a list of fake players, both men and women. As far as I can tell, they all control the same, it's just an aesthetic choice. In single player, you can also choose what type of surface to play on. There's grass, clay, and hard. Each one plays slightly different, but you won't notice too much difference in controlling your character. Doubles is a really fun part of this game. The game gets super fast with a lot of close-net volleying, and you never know where the ball's going. The graphics are good with bright colors. I like the cartoon style of the character sprites. The courts are nothing special, but really, how special is a real tennis court to look at? Oh, and take a look at the line judges at the back. Do you think they're triplets? The game uses a bit of Mode 7 when switching courts, and it's really not very impressive. There's little music in the game, which is a shame. I think that having some music while playing would have been nice, but it's not a deal breaker. This is just a fun arcade-style tennis game that's easy to pick up and sometimes hard to put down.
Yep, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna talk about the John Madden football series on the Sega Genesis. I know I said I didn't want to talk about this one a long time ago, but now I do want to talk about it. I promise it won't hurt, at least not very much. Anyway, I really enjoyed the first game, which was programmed by Park Place Productions and released by Electronic Arts. It was simple enough for me to get into and enjoy, yet deep enough for die-hard football fans at the time to love as well. I really like the passing windows so I can see which receiver is the most eligible to receive my love.
First down!
I also love running nonsensical plays like a field goal attempt on first down or using a punt block defense on the opponent's first or second down. Why don't real teams ever do this? I can make some big plays this way. The graphics were pretty good with a nice angled view of the field. The team colors weren't tremendously accurate and only the cities were represented, not the actual teams nor the players. And quite honestly, I really like the music in this game. You don't expect sports games to have good music, but this one did. Too bad it doesn't play during gameplay. EA then proceeded to spam the hell out of this game by making a new one every single year, something they still do to this day. John Madden Football 92 was the next one, and while it's basically just a redressing using the same graphics and sounds for the most part, it has some cool stuff I like. This time the team colors are a bit more accurate, and the best part is now the players can be injured. If that happens, an ambulance rushes out onto the field running over any players that just might be standing in the way. Might want to send out a few more of those ambulances for all those players you just killed. John Madden Football 93 was the first one to add comments from Madden himself.
Hey, he'll remember that number.
There's also John Madden Football 93 Championship Edition Turbo EX Plus Alpha, which was a rental exclusive. In this game, John Madden invents a time machine so that teams from different years can play each other. They play by 1993 rules though. I would have loved to be able to change the rules to different years as well. Imagine having modernly uniformed football players play one of the original uniformed football players. It'd be a massacre, it'd be great. But then Madden NFL 94 came out and it was completely reprogrammed by High Score Productions. It has completely new graphics which are nice to see, and for the most part they're pretty damn good. As you may have guessed by the title, this one uses real NFL teams. I also like the new Play Select screen a lot. But for some reason the game just isn't as fun overall, it's much tougher. Then came Madden NFL 95, which is the first fully licensed game in the franchise, so it has the real players. But they got rid of the passing windows? I like the passing windows. Then the world was graced with Madden NFL 96, which has some TV network's theme song in the title screen. Hope YouTube doesn't flag me for that, those bastards. And damn is this game ugly. Just look at this. This has got to be one of the worst looking 16-bit football games ever. Even the play selection screen looks awful. The game really seems to want to show you as many TV people faces as possible. I don't know why they think we care who they are. We watch the games for the teams that are playing, not because of you. The gameplay is faster now, which is nice, but it still seems like a step backwards. Madden NFL 97 came out the next year, as you'd imagine, and this time the graphics are almost acceptable again. There are tons of penalties. It almost seems like one's called on every single play.
There's a flag on the play.
And finally, Madden NFL 98 was the very last one in the franchise on the Genesis. This is a very lazy attempt as it's barely even a redressing of the last game.
Incomplete.
All in all, I still like the first John Madden football game better than the rest of them, mainly because of the simplicity and the music. Though that ambulance in 92 does kick ass. See, now we're done. That didn't hurt too much, did it?
Well, Joe, looking back at the Genesis, I never knew that Madden football would have taken off and still be going today.
Absolutely. All thanks to the Genesis. Actually, it didn't originate on the Genesis, but
Well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't really.
It got popular on the Genesis.
Yeah, and
so.
somehow people still love buying every single year of that game.
Absolutely. I mean, ever since sports games got realistic, I don't know. I just can't really get into them as much.
I think it's hard to play as a polygon character because they don't react well.
Yeah, they're
as
kinda
well
goofy.
as a sprite.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe they do these days. I just haven't played a football game in the last 10 years or something.
Yeah. Anyway, it's your turn. So I don't know what you've got, and you probably don't either.
No, I know what I've got.
Oh, okay. But let's take a look.
The Bases Loaded series by Jalico has 4 releases on the NES and 3 on the Super NES. I personally own 3 of them, so let's take a look at what I've got. Bases Loaded is the first game in the series and is fairly well made. As you can see, the game is played from an over-the-shoulder view of the pitcher. At first, I really didn't like this view when you're up to bat, but you eventually get used to it and it works fine. Of course, when you're pitching, this view is very enjoyable. Pitching is easy in this game as you can move your pitcher left and right and then throw any number of pitches from fastballs to low and inside slow balls. Hitting is also made fairly easy as you can swing your bat at all levels of pitches from low, middle, and high. Playing defense after a ball is hit is tough as you never really know which player you're controlling. Once you do figure it out, a lot of times it's too late and you'll miss a play. All the outfielders run very slowly and that also makes it hard to field balls. The music is fairly good but super repetitive, yet surprisingly not annoying. Bases Loaded 2, the second season also on the NES, has quite a few changes from the first game. Firstly, you'll notice that everything moves faster from the game menus to the players on field. The players move very fast and jerky in this overhead view and the animation suffers and looks pretty bad. Fielding this time around has gotten much worse. I really feel lost when a ball is hit to the outfield as I don't feel like I have control over any of the outfielders. Once you do finally field a ball and try to throw it to one of the bases, you end up throwing it to a completely different base and you know what, that sucks. Or take this example. I got 2 runners in a pickle and I was trying to figure out what I needed to do to get one of them out when I randomly threw the ball back into the outfield and gave up a run and got no outs. So bad. Then there's the music, which is okay. It's not as enjoyable as the first game, and on top of that, they added some sort of whistle sound or crowd chant type thing that plays constantly and even between innings. Oh, this isn't good. So overall, Bases Loaded 2 wasn't quite the direction the series should have gone. Super Bases Loaded on the Super NES is one fine game. I really had a great time playing this installment. Graphically, the game is okay, and of course it looks better than the NES counterparts, but all the characters' sprites look a little bit jaggy. Other than that, I'm fine with it. They even included a fair amount of Mode 7 here, and it works okay even if it's not super smooth. The music in this installment is great. I really liked it for what it's worth, and it added a nice dimension to this game. This one controls 100% better than the other 2 I mentioned, and I had barely any problems hitting, pitching, or even fielding the ball. A new dimension added to this game is a grading system. Instead of playing a long 130 game season, you get graded on your single game performance. According to the instruction manual, the only way to beat this game is to get a score of 100 against a level 5 team. That's not an easy task as you cannot make any errors. Good luck.
I used to enjoy basketball games like Pat Riley Basketball on the Genesis. And who doesn't like Pat Riley? He's like the Roy Scheider of basketball. This one lets you select all of the cities, and it looks kinda primitive, but still pretty good, I think. It also has a lot of these dumb cutaways which were made popular by Double Dribble on the NES. They look really cool, but they kind of interrupt the flow of the game. You need to be right in the center of the red part of the meter to make the shot. Sometimes I'm going to make a shot and I'm pressing the button to release the ball, but then I'm surprised when a cutaway appears and I've already pressed a button instead of waiting the meter, and of course I missed a shot. Thanks. But overall, it's a decent basketball game with some decent music. I was digging EA's sports games at the time, so I made sure to pick up Lakers vs. Celtics in the NBA playoffs. Why can't I pick my Denver Nuggets? Oh yeah, that's right, they aren't a playoff caliber team. Silly me. Anyway, the game itself is kinda choppy and it's really hard to tell which player you're controlling because they're not marked.
Traveling.
Oops, 5-yard penalty. At least the goofy music helps make the game entertaining, and it is playable. In typical EA fashion, they rehashed this one a few times. This is Bulls vs. Blazers and is still choppy, but now at least your player is marked. They got rid of the music and the game seems really boring as a result. It's also a lot tougher. Sega went and made a new basketball game themselves with David Robinson's Supreme Court. You know, I have absolutely no idea who David Robinson is. I didn't like this one at all because it had a diagonal view. Who thought this was a good idea? If that's not bad enough, the view keeps switching back and forth. EA eventually changed up their basketball game from scratch with NBA Live 95. It has a diagonal court as well. Do people actually really like this style? Well, at least there's no switching back and forth. Oh well, at least it's better than David Robinson's Supreme Court, and the crowd noise makes it slightly more entertaining than the previous Electronic Arts basketball games. By the way, I've just been informed that David Robinson is known as the Admiral. The Admiral of what? I do not know. He looks more like a first lieutenant to me. Overall, I think I might enjoy Lakers vs. Celtics the most, mainly because of the idiotic music.
Sega's Worldwide Soccer on the Saturn is one of the few soccer or football games that I've actually liked. That's football for everybody else except America. I was never one to get into FIFA or the PES games as I just wanted a more arcade-style experience. This game brought that to me and I was happy. You can easily get into this one and enjoy it as there are only a few buttons to worry about. The A button shoots the ball and it actually works really well as you can aim the shot fairly easily. The B button passes the ball and it controls well. My only complaint is that the passes are weak. If the player you're trying to pass to is more than 25 virtual feet away, then good luck completing that pass. And finally, the C button centers the ball, which can be good if you can get one of your players to be close enough to get off a shot. Graphically, the game really hasn't aged well, and that's expected from an older Saturn game. The field of play, or pitch as you Europeans call it, feels fairly big with lots of room to move around. You can change the camera angle to suit your viewing needs and also zoom in and out. Easily the best part of this game is the soundtrack. I still can't believe how awesome the music is in this game. I've ripped the soundtrack and have listened to it on its own quite a bit. In all honesty, if it wasn't for the music, I probably wouldn't be drawn to this game nearly as much as I am. Sure, the game is fun to play and easy to control, but the music is really the selling point. I'm sure there are better soccer games out there, but this little gem should be experienced at least once.
How about some boxing? James Buster Douglas knockout boxing on the Genesis is pretty crappy. Probably the most notable thing about this game is that it's the US version of a Japanese game called Final Blow. Yeah. Come here, punk, let me give you a blow. Oh, what, you gonna blow me? No, cause I'm gonna give you the final blow. This is probably one of the worst boxing games ever. I mean, just look at that collision detection. I like how big the characters are, but this game just plays like crap. Not that I can play boxing games very well anyway. Evander Holyfield quickly knocked Buster Douglas on his ass, so we got Evander Holyfield's Real Deal Boxing. This is definitely a better game, but I still suck at it. I do like the rotating effect of the ring as you move around. But the sequel, which is called Greatest Heavyweights, is much better. This is the real deal. Believe it or not, I can actually play this one fairly well. We have the same rotating ring, but now you can play as many of the greatest heavyweights of all time, like Muhammad Ali fighting Jack Dempsey. I mean, it's like only 3 or 4 times in a lifetime that you even get to see these guys fight each other. Anyway, I was actually able to win matches in this game. Between matches, you can choose how to power up your player by selecting 3 of the 8 different power-up methods. Your opponents will constantly taunt you, and they all have the exact same taunts, except for the heavyweights.
Don't run away! Don't pansy!
The game could have used some more crowd noise or music during the bout to make it a little less boring, but it's still fairly fun.
Pansy! Sissy! Chicken! Don't run away! Sucker! Here I...
It's not a bad effort for a boxing game on a Sega system. I mean, come on, usually boxing games that aren't Punch-Out kinda tend to suck.
Tecmo Bowl on the NES is probably my favorite football game of all time. Yes, that's right guys, all time. But since I don't play lots of football games, that might not be saying much. Anyway, this game is just super fun and easy to play. Pick from one of many real teams from back in the day and off you go. Naturally, I pick the Denver Broncos every time I play just because they're great and have that sexy John Elway. Joe, why'd you put that in there? So as you can see, the game is played on a horizontal game field, and I like this. I feel I can see much more of what's going on compared to a vertically scrolling football game. The field seems a bit skinny and the players look pretty large for the field, but it works out alright. As I said, it's super easy as there are only 4 offensive plays to choose from. There's 2 running plays and there's 2 passing plays, and they all work fairly well. I actually like the running plays better as I seem to throw lots of interceptions with the passing plays. This is what led to my loss today against the LA Raiders. Defense is also easy as you try to predict what play the offense is running and cover it. You can of course switch which player you want to control, and sometimes it works great and other times it just backfires. The music is good and actually adds to the enjoyment of the game. A great game all around and one of the best. Tecmo Super Bowl for the Super NES is a super sequel. Well, actually it's more just a decent sequel to the original. It has all of the upgrades you'd want for a 16-bit sequel. Everything looks better, but truthfully it's not a huge leap. There's more animations here and there, like scoring a touchdown or when you barely make a first down or even a field goal attempt. There's also new weather effects like rain.
Oh, good.
Everything plays just like it did in the first game, and now you have a total of 8 plays to choose from instead of 4. That's because this game is 16-bit compared to the original 8-bit. That means twice the power, twice the plays. The music is pretty good and plays throughout the game, which I like. It's a fun game, but not near as good as the original. There's also a version of this game on the Genesis, but who cares? Tecmo Super Bowl 2 is a great game. Well, at least I think it is, but I don't know because it keeps freezing on me. So let's move on to the last game in the series, which is Tecmo Super Bowl 3. This one takes the series in a direction that I really don't like. The overall gameplay is similar to the previous games, but the new additions are not really welcome in my book. This time they went away with the overhead look and went to an isometric view. The field looks uglier and lacks the deep green that I liked in the previous games. This one just overall feels drab in comparison. Choosing plays this time around looks all muddled and confusing to me. I can decipher them, that's not the problem, but it just takes a bit longer and it isn't user-friendly at all. There's absolutely no music during gameplay now. You wouldn't think it's a big deal, but having music during gameplay really adds to the fun factor. Now it's just quiet and boring and the crowd sound isn't exciting at all. The game still has a little bit of the charm from the original, but not enough to keep me interested for very long. If you stick with the original NES game, you're gonna be happy. I guarantee it.
All right, and that's sports games for you. I don't know if we'll ever have another one of these episodes or not. It depends on how well this one does, really, if you guys like it or not. Or, if it gets, 60,000 views, we'll do another one. So, don't watch it a whole bunch of times. Make sure you tell your friends if they like sports, which, who does? I guess
some people do.
Yeah, well, I guess they do. You have anything to say? Because I'm kind of monopolizing the conversation.
You are, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm just awestruck about all these sports games.
Yes, indeed. And okay, well, I guess that's it then. Thank you for watching GameSack. Okay, Dave, that was a fairly good sports-themed episode, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, I've got to go drop the kids off at the pool. You can let yourself out.
Yeah. I got a text here. I've just got to check real quick. So, hey, Joe, are you playing Bases Loaded 2? I can totally hear it in here, dude. Turn it down, man. Jeez, it's annoying. Because he wasn't playing, it's just me. Alright, I've made my choice. The next sports episode, these 2 games are going to be the main event. Freaking awesome games right here. Awesome. What's that noise? Is that Bases Loaded 2 again? Get out of bed. Oh. That's a little bit better. Still annoying though. I hate bases loaded too. Oh, man. All right, time to get that crap out of my head and listen to some real music. The hell is this? No! 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 I hate